Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. My name is Jules Gill and I'm joined by the man who always puts the whizzy in my Lizzie. It is Scott Tailford. We will talk about that another time.
Yeah, we absolutely will not. That's a reference to the fact that Grimes' character is now confirmed for in Cyberpunk 2077 and she's called Lizzie Wizzy, which we were talking about before we came in. Not what this news is about, though.
Not
Carry on.
what this news is about, because as you know, the constant shift of the gaming industry means there's constantly new information coming our way. We've had information about Resident Evil 3, like you say, Cyberpunk 2077, and it's kind of like, oh, what exciting thing are we going to be talking about today?
Look, I
Dualshock
care.
controller patents.
Dualshock 5. They're going to care about the new controller. You will as well, especially if it's monitoring your heart rate and your sweat and all that. Now, you were saying about new stuff, so let's talk about a patent from last week. Now, I do have a new one as well that came out today, but there are two major patents to cover in regards to the Dualshock 5. The first one is the idea that Sony are going to be monitoring biofeedback going forward.
What you mean, like in Death Stranding, where it's just like RP is going to be weaponized?
They turn it into Monster Energy. That would allow you to do longer play sessions. So this thing was reported by Inverse.com. It's an official patent filed with the US Patent and Trademark Office, and it points to the idea that the new DualShock 5 will have built-in heart rate and sweat monitors. Now they'll be in the arms of the controller.
Sorry, sweat monitors?
Yeah.
The heart rate thing I can understand. I feel like that would actually have like a impossible gameplay application. Like, say that you're playing a horror game, it measures your heart rate, and it would maybe like make the controller vibrate more or something like that.
Look, I'll read you a lovely quote, but this is the quote from the patent thing. Now, so one thing is the heart rate monitor. The other is that in the arms of the controller, and according to the patent, it's like these little grey areas at the bottom of it that would somehow monitor sweat, apparently. So I'll read you a little quote.
Okay.
So it's advantageous to be able to detect when a user is becoming increasingly frightened while playing a horror game, and to modify in-game parameters such as the number of enemies, type of enemies, environmental lighting effects, or the sounds which are played to the user, and that comes from the application itself.
Right.
So as to reduce the intensity of the gaming experience and put the user more at ease.
Wait.
I kind of want the opposite of that.
Yeah, to reduce the intensity. That you completely. I was like, that sounds amazing. Like, so I could be walking along a corridor, I start feeling stressed. The game starts like having like maybe when
they don't want to kill people.
You know when you like have the vision cam and it has like your eyes go like sort of thing. I'd like that sort of appearing, and then the tones to like wash out, or like red to seep in when I'm playing like Animal Crossing. I'm getting stressed that I'm not being able to catch like a bell or something.
The thing is, I wonder how much, because like say for example, I do a big old gamer day and I play for like 10 hours in a row. I'm going to get more disgusting as that day goes on. Is that game then going to read that as like, well, he's clearly terrified of this tiny thing that he's got up against, whereas I'm like, no, I'm just disgusting.
Yeah, but this thing, the heart rate's fine. I don't want anything knowing the house.
I've got a regular heart rate, so it's going to think that I'm like can't handle anything. I'm just sweating and
you're going to be playing like Resident Evil 8 when it comes out, and it's just going to be like, oh, don't worry, Scott. Don't worry about that zombie.
No.
Like, we'll reduce the enemies.
Just
to you.
full on palpitations in the Dreams home menu. Just nothing. I can't handle anything.
I don't like if it would be a case of it adapts gameplay, as in it changes the difficulty based on your heart rate, because how do you defer what is frightened versus what is adrenaline? Because in the heat of the moment, you could be playing, say, I don't know, even a racing game, and suddenly be like, oh, it's so close to that. What's it going to do? Make all of the cars have training wheels pop out so you don't
I
pop
assume
over?
that maybe I don't know, if I was a dev and I had access to this technology, I would make it so that the score dynamically mixes based on how intense the section is.
See, that's
keep the gameplay the same and ramp up the score. Final Fantasy VII's remake does a bit of that.
I would want to use that information to make sure that whatever game I put out gave people heart attacks. Like Heart Attack Simulator.
That's the opposite of what they do.
No, but I don't want, that seems like it's a bit of mollycoddling. Like it's a case of like, oh, you can't handle your game, don't worry with that. I'm paying for an experience. I want this to be something.
I'm a sweaty individual and I've paid for an intense gaming experience. Don't take my sweat as indication that I can't handle it.
This is the divide between gamers here. I'm actually focused on the heart rate side of things, and Scott just is obsessed with the sweatiness because he's worried that somebody's going to find out how much he pongs.
Yeah, well, no, there's no smell. I'm one of the sort of smellless sweaters. But I think if they start monitoring this stuff, then they're going to come barreling in with difficulty changes and, oh, there's less enemies on the screen because you became a liquid man, and that's not what I want.
You just get to play with little mitts on.
Gamer mitts. They'll start selling them.
Oh my God.
There's all those little thumbnail covers. Just sell gaming mitts. It'll get you around it.
See, again, I feel like it's good in a way because if we look back at the sort of way that our peripherals have been sort of introduced into a more
I say
dynamic...
peripherals weird, but yes.
Because I find it quite a hard word to say.
Peripherals?
You're just going to make fun of me for that? I can't...
No, but you did it like as if it was like a euphemism.
Peripherals.
How about you and your little peripherals?
So obviously the Dualshock controller, one of the first steps forward in terms of like feedback. So you had like, your thumbsticks there, playing your Ape Escape on the PS1, what a great game, and all of a sudden it starts rumbling, you're like, what's going on here? And it's because of the fact it suddenly makes the game feel more tangible, like it's more immersive, because you're suddenly like, oh, well, this is interesting.
Remember when...
Hopefully they'll use that as well to further the experience, rather than just be like, you stink, you sweat, I'm making the game easy.
And you can't handle these really tough games. I mean, they already talked about in the stuff that came out last year about they've got these the haptic triggers and haptic feedback.
Yes.
And the idea that if you were firing a shotgun, it would feel differently to a machine gun. If you were drawing a bow and arrow back, there would be tension on the trigger and stuff like that, which I love the idea of that. And I guess combined with something that monitors your heart rate in a horror game, there's a way for that stuff to come together, and hopefully it wouldn't be gimmicky.
Well, for me, if I was making the horror game, and say there was the classic thing of like, you're hiding from the monster, and you've got to keep
like in Until Dawn, where you're holding it.
You've got to keep the heart rate monitor down, so you've got to stay calm in order to bypass this whole thing. I mean, it will mean that the absolute like sociopaths within society that play video games, they'll be absolutely fine because they won't be bothered by this at all.
No, just completely calm.
It's like, yeah, just fine, whatever.
This player seems to think that everything is just like taking a stroll through the park.
What if you've got anxiety?
That's what I'm saying. I've got an irregular heartbeat anyway.
Yeah, you're just genuinely on edge all the time, and you're meant to be playing video games to relax, and it's telling you you're not relaxed.
It just gives you the health warning as soon as you turn the PS4 on. Yeah. So, well, you're already in a state of duress, so we can't go ahead with the game.
Would you like to buy a microtransaction for that? Maybe?
Oh god, if they tie it in, it'd save your own health. So this patent that we talked about came after one from last November, which was the first time that this stuff was mentioned, but the patent hadn't been made public until more recently. But the thing from last November just mentioned that the controllers could be used to monitor skin moisture, heart rhythm, and muscle movement.
Muscle movement's an interesting one.
I guess like how tight you're gripping the pad, maybe?
Oh, okay. Actually, that could
I'm assuming.
Well, this is the thing. Nintendo have got sort of a market on the what you would consider to be gimmicky controllers.
Yes.
Like you look at that Wii Fit ring. Is that
Ring Fit. Ring Fit's great. Yeah. It's a Pilates ring.
But it's like it's really good.
Yeah,
like,
I love
it is. So I'm thinking that what they're going to try and do is have it so that you might have. They always bundle the PS5 or the Xbox with some sort of like party game style thing. There might be a way of like, oh, you got to squeeze the controller in order to do this. Or
like, I mean, they need after. Knack was such after Knack was such a weird like misfire at the start of the PS4, they kind of.
I've not thought.
Maybe little Knack just looks like a shed.
I've not thought about Knack.
A shed that came to life. I think if they did a new first-party IP with this stuff baked into it, like Nintendo style, that this is why this technology matters, and then you could either do a revolving door of game demos like the VR worlds for the PSVR, or you do a whole new IP Knack style that specializes in this stuff, and you need to not sweat to get through it or something.
They might finally give people what they want as well in terms of being able to just turn the controller sideways and use it as a gun for some motion control games.
You want that? Who wants that? Is that a thing?
But listen, I don't want to spend another 80 quid on buying like a gun peripheral.
I'll tell you what, speaking of rotating a controller for different means, not in a weird way, it's only 9 AM, but they're getting in Infamous, when you had to spray, in Infamous Second Son, when you had to spray...
the tags.
Tags, I was going to go murals. You would turn the controller on its side and shake it like a controller. Don't take that out of context. And you would do that on the wall, and it was great. Yeah. I think that if there's more ways to sort of do stuff like that, you could start thinking of the DualShock 4 in more uses based on what angle it was.
Yeah, I mean, I want to turn it sideways, use it as a phone.
Like in Silent Hill Downpour.
Boop, boop, boop.
Is it in Downpour where people ring you and you get the Wii remote next to you?
Yeah, true.
Your face. I'd be game for that. Anyway, second patent, which to me is a little bit more interesting, which might be less interesting to you. What are the words battery life connote in you? Do you like? Do you want more?
It's 2020, mate. Why do I need to care about that? Just plug it in.
What about wireless charging? Do you want to charge it wirelessly? Put it on a little pad and it charges?
Right, fine.
Yeah.
Apart from, I now have to buy a pad to charge it on.
Well, yes, maybe. I mean, the patent thing that's been filed is for a wireless charging adapter, so I don't know if that's going to come with the PS5. I'd assume that it would.
Yeah.
But the amount of in the mobile, mobile phone space, there's so many wireless charging pads now that you just put your phone on and it works. Now that's apparently what they're looking into with the PS5. So the DualShock 5 would charge wirelessly, but the adapter that you clip onto the controller, it seems like it's all optional, which I guess would mean that it's not a box pack-in.
Yeah.
But the adapter that you buy to clip onto the DualShock 5 is detachable. So if you plug it into the DualShock 5, you can still play while you're charging. So it does wireless charging that way too, which I love the idea of.
I like the idea of, but it's one of those things where I just look at it and I think, like, what's wrong with just plugging in a cable?
Constant play? Those dailies aren't going to daily themselves.
Do I sound like a snob when I just go, I've got multiple controllers? I can just
I've got like 7, but to be honest...
So you can just go, okay, fine.
Ever since 2013, though, because the DualShock 4's battery life is terrible, I just plug mine in every single night. It's on a USB cable every single night, because I know it's not going to last more than one day. But I like the idea of having one dedicated controller. Maybe overall that would help with general energy use in the home.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
I would like it because when you are overcharging stuff, you're actually destroying the battery. I mean, you'll see loads of people online saying that you shouldn't actually charge up your phones or leave them on charge at work.
True.
You should let them drain all the way down and fill them all the way back up,
that.
because if you're constantly charging it up, it actually destroys the battery quicker.
It's like when you get a new one, it's like, oh, you're supposed to charge it all the way before you use it, and everyone's like, no, I can use it now. It's got charge in it from the box.
It's like, no, don't. But the thing is, so you could potentially say that if it's a wireless charging pad that like stops and shuts down once it hits the 100% and doesn't charge it again until it gets... Like, if they were clever with it, then if it's eco-friendly, then
I should also point out that this, the second patent, the battery patent, was found by a Redditor who goes by the name of Darth Vapor 883. Very big fan of Big Vapor.
Smoking the big kush.
He's a big fan, and so that whole thing, the vast majority centers on the wireless charging adapter, which mentions the adapter would include keys that mirror keys on the controller, but you can remove the adapter with the controller from the charging base, keep the adapter on the controller, and use both the controller keys and adapter keys to control a game, which is a really fancy way of saying that it's a thing that will clip onto a DualShock and you'll just keep playing.
I was just about to say,
that's the thing.
That is a very complicated
It's a very patented way of framing things. It's like, well, the adapter keys and the game keys and controller. It even says controlling a computer game.
Oh my God.
I guess they have to plainly state it because it's a patent.
Yeah, but the thing is that we take it for granted in the fact that we're in the industry, but you got to remember that in the patent industry, people who might not even have any interest in this
they won't know.
I was like, oh, okay, I actually understand.
Yeah, it'll be like that Facebook Mark Zuckerberg trial.
The thing is, if the console is as forward-thinking as potentially these ideas that are being appropriated for the controller, then the PS5 stands to be very, very tech-heavy, which is good.
Which would explain why they're having a whole parts shortage at the minute as well.
The question is, and this will always be, is it necessary and beneficial to the player?
Possibly.
Like, this whole thing seems... Obviously, out of context, you could say that the heart rate monitor, the sweat monitor, whatever, might be at the detriment of the player. But are we getting along fine without those things? I would say we're doing pretty okay.
Last of Us 2 coming out soon.
Yeah.
So we're doing all right.
God of War did not need a heart rate monitor.
What if it had one, though? What if Atreus was like, hey, Dad, you need to calm down?
If they could make it so that I could throw the controller every time he threw his axe and call it back to him, then that's technology I'd be invested in.
Yeah, and I guess it sort of recognises what angle you're tossing it at, maybe?
Indeed.
Angular tossing.
But speaking of tossing, we're going to end this now.
Good. We're going to end all of it.
Thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. Are you interested in these new features? Are you going to be picking up a PS4 just so it can read your sweat? Or would you like them to stay away?
No, the PS5.
Oh, right, I thought you were just going to be like, here, I'm sweaty.
No. No, you said PS4.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
It's all right.
If you want to follow us, you can do so at RetroJ with a 0 for myself and...
@/LP89.
You are damn right you can. Hope you have a fantastic day, whatever you are getting up to, and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.